Bab as-salati ba'da al-jumu'ati wa qablaha. Praying before and after Jumu'ah. Meaning how much salah is to be performed after Jumu'ah and before Jumu'ah. حدثنا Abdullah ibn Yusuf قال أخبرنا مالك عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصلي قبل الظهر ركعتين. He said the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم would perform before Zuhr 2 rak'ah. وبعدها ركعتين, and after Zuhr also 2 rak'ah. وبعد المغرب ركعتين في بيته, and he would also perform after Maghrib 2 rak'ah in his home. وبعد العشاء ركعتين, and after Isha again he would perform 2 rak'ah. وكان لا يصلي بعد الجمعة, and he would not pray after Jumu'ah حتى ينصرف, until he would go away, meaning leave the masjid. فيصلي ركعتين, and then he would pray 2 rak'ah. Where? At home. So before Jumu'ah, how many rak'at? None. What about Tahiyyatul Masjid? Yes. But any sunnah? No. Any nafil? No. Remember that following the way of the Prophet ﷺ means doing what he did and leaving what he left. So if he did not pray nafil before Salatul Jumu'ah, then should we make it a habit of praying nafil before Salatul Jumu'ah? No. Tahiyyatul Masjid is different. That you have to pray when you go to the masjid. Even if the khutbah is going on, you have to pray. But any sunnah before Jumu'ah? No. Not 2, not 4. Because remember that Jumu'ah is different from Zuhr. Okay? For Zuhr, is there sunnah before the fard? Yes. But for Jumu'ah, is there sunnah before the 2 rak'ah? No. There is no sunnah before Salatul Jumu'ah. Alright? And also remember that it would be wrong to pray Salah before Jumu'ah. Why? You go to the masjid, you pray your 2 nafil, the imam is still not here. Time of Zuhr has entered. Or, even if it's just about to enter, should you be praying at that time? No, you should not be. Why? Why would it be wrong? Because if the Prophet ﷺ did not do it, we should not be doing it. Unless there is a sabab. If there is a reason. Like for example, you say there's time and, I can pray my istikhara right now. I'm in the masjid, I'm waiting, I'm early. But remember that if the sun is upon the zenith, you're not allowed to be praying at that time. Remember there's 3 times, right? When you're not allowed to pray. So one is that Salatul Jumu'ah is being performed, let's say, at 2 o'clock these days. Or 1:30. Now the time of Dhuhr begins well in advance. But if it's, really according to the sky, like you're going to perform Jumu'ah exactly when the time of Jumu'ah enters, that's when the Imam is going to come out. So should you be praying anything before Jumu'ah? No. Because then you are praying in a time that is makruh, meaning that you are not allowed to pray in. With respect to after the Jumu'ah prayer, how many rak'at? After Jumu'ah prayer, how many? Okay, the Prophet ﷺ performed rak'atayn, so 2. Only 2. Good, mashallah. 4, okay, in the masjid. And some ulama even say 6. So there is a difference of opinion with respect to this, that how many rak'at after Jumu'ah? Some scholars have said 6 rak'at after Jumu'ah, in sets of 2. 2, 2, 2. Why? Because they said that the Prophet ﷺ performed 2 rak'at himself, as it is mentioned in the hadith that when he would go home, he would pray 2 rak'at, so 2 from there. And he commanded the Sahaba to perform 4. In a hadith in Muslim, we learned that the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا صَلَّى أَحَدُكُمُ الْجُمُعَةَ فَلْيُصَلِّ بَعْدَهَا أَرْبَعًا. He should pray 4. So he prayed 2 himself, and he told the companions to pray 4. So we will combine between his command and his action. So they said we will pray 6. However, the Prophet ﷺ did not pray 6. What did he pray? 2? Or he told the companions to pray 4. So we cannot, make 6 mandatory, obligatory. If you want to pray nawafil, you want to pray 10, go ahead. But don't tell people and don't tell your children and don't force yourself to pray 6. Because this would be contrary to the sunnah. Contrary to the way of the Sahaba. The second opinion is that we have to follow the command. The action of the Prophet ﷺ is for him. If he said pray 4, then we will pray 4. You understand? In sets of 2. Meaning after Jumu'ah, we will pray 4 rak'ah, 2 and 2. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا صَلَّى أَحَدُكُمْ الْجُمُعَةَ فَلْيُصَلِّ بَعْدَهَا أَرْبَعًا. So we have to take the command. So we will pray 4, 2 and 2. Other scholars said that the Prophet ﷺ, third opinion, is that if a person performs his sunnah in the masjid, then he will perform 4, 2 and 2. And if he goes home, then he will perform 2. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said to the people, pray 4. And it's understood that he was with them where? In the masjid. And where were the people hanging out? In the masjid. So he told them, pray 4, 2 and 2. But if someone got busy, and they weren't able to perform any salah after Jumu'ah, and they end up going home, and when they reach home, they realize, I didn't get to pray my sunnah at all. So then how much will they pray? 2, because that is what the Prophet ﷺ did. This was the opinion of Ibn Taimiyyah and many other scholars. Isn't this amazing? How beautiful our religion is. Because Yawmul Jumu'ah, Jummah, there's so many people gathered in one place. What happens? You say your salam, and sometimes you've barely done your dhikr that one person comes to meet you, and then you meet somebody else, and then you meet somebody else, and you meet somebody else, and the next thing you know, you have to go pick up your kids, and if you're even 5 minutes late, not good for them. And what happens? You're not able to pray your sunnah. And then when you get home, then there's another story that begins, right? So if you start praying 4 rak'at, what will happen? By the time you're finished, disaster. So just pray 2 rak'at. How amazing is our religion? So, what do we learn? That 4 in the masjid and 2 at home. Some scholars also said that 2 is okay. After Salatul Jumu'ah, 2 rak'at is also okay because the Prophet ﷺ himself performed 2. Meaning it's reported that he performed only 2. So if there is a genuine reason, a person is not able to stay for long, he has to rush quickly and he has time only to pray 2, he can do that. You understand? It's best that you pray 2 later on at home. But if let's say you're not able to, then even 2 is okay. باب قول الله تعالى إذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا